This is Hat and Tat, a business podcast from two 80s kids.
And Steve and I didn't prep our usual intro for what we attempt as like a witty back and forth. So that's it. That's all.
Now that is witty.
Okay, so we wanted to cover kind of a different episode where we just found a business that was super interesting. It was on My First Million the other day, and the business was Haven Lifestyles. The co-founder was Alex Daniels. And we heard this and we're just like, what? Like, what?
I did double take. That's exactly what I said out loud.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so essentially what this is a classy junk mail business that makes $10 million in revenue a year, $2.5 million in profit. There's two co-founders and then 20 people in the Philippines doing all the work. And it all its revenue on basically classy realtor lookbooks that realtors advertise in, and then they use the post office to send out these lookbooks that are like essentially magazines of properties to really high income zip codes. And the crazy part about this is you're not trying to get subscribers. Like, you're just going to the post office and saying, okay, like based on the incomes in this state, I want to target, the top 5 incomes, and we're just going to send the magazines to those people. And then you go to the realtors and you just say, hey, would you like to advertise into this lifestyle magazine? You can use this to show your new property that, you're trying to push, or you can get these copies yourself and then hand them to potential clients to try to get their house as seeing, hey, like, what other realtor has access to this? Like, it's a crazy business.
It struck me as the exact type of business that would be killed by the internet. So
yeah,
the fact that it exists today when most people are looking for listings, I thought, anyway, Realtor, Redfin, Zillow, like there's so many online directories where people are just going to look. So that was the part that blew my mind.
And I think the reason why, so like they even said 90% of their reading is from their website. So it's definitely not the print that's driving all the reading. But I think it's a status thing. So if you're a realtor, you're trying to sell properties, and more importantly, you're trying to get the next property to sell. And it's a differentiator. Like, if you can walk in and someone, your competitor goes in and says, oh yeah, I think, your house is worth XYZ. And yeah, here's, some listings I've done. And then you walk in there and you have a 1 to 200 page, high net worth houses that are for sale. And you're like, hey, this is a property that I have right now. And, we could easily put you into a future publication. I mean, that's a small investment to get what could be a very lucrative deal for you. And I think that's what's driving the revenue.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think also knowing your market a little bit, I'm going to just look at a few listings, and some of them do tend to be like a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more high end. So, you got to think about like the people buying those houses aren't the people that are cruising through realtor.com on a daily basis, like trying to find good deals. And so it is a little bit more targeted. It also like brings me back to some of those days where some of the big retailers of the day would put out their magazines, their lookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not expecting necessarily people to like open a magazine anymore or a catalog and like make purchases right from there. But it does just like bring you top of mind. It's something nice to flip through. And then it just kind of maybe gets people thinking about things if it's on their mind as a place to look and do things. So it is interesting. Blew my mind that it existed.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like as he was talking about it and thinking about it more, it's like there's just it's a niche or a niche that needs to be filled. And I mean, depending on how you expand it or how you grow it, like what do you say? They were like 10 years in the making doing this?
Yeah, they've been building for 10 years. The first year, I mean, the partner had a small mag in Annapolis, Maryland. And then they kind of expanded from there. Their first year, they had 300,000 in sales. And I mean, he was 25 years old when Alex started going out, and he was like making deals. Like the first sales call he went on, he made a deal. And then shortly after, someone was like, well, what can you do for 10 grand? Like they were like throwing money at them. Like it's wild and crazy. In the podcast, they were talking about him, and they're like, so have you talked to any of your customers? in the past year? And he was like, no. Like, it's wild.
I think he mentioned too that there was just like a mindset shift just like very recently
Yeah.
on it, like really trying to grow the business. So it'll be interesting to see where they go and what they do. Cause it was like what they've targeted is like, it is a little bit niche and it is like, it serves a specific purpose, a specific market. It's not going to be like mainstream. Like you're going to see this magazine in everyone's house on every doorstep.
No, but
Cause I do think that like the internet has taken that away.
I don't think so, because I mean, he said the last year they grew 10% top line and faster than that profit. So I mean, that's decent growth from a little business when you're not calling a customer. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting part of this discussion is, so what would you do, Steve, or what do you see as other opportunities? Because I mean, we've all seen the little neighborhood pamphlets that are sent out.
Which also have real estate listings.
And they have like generic articles that you can have and everything, and those are widely distributed. Less lookbooky, more like newspapery. I think a really interesting variant of this would be someone going to investment funds or wealth management places, and not as an aggregate lookbook, but as a service to investment funds to say, hey, we would like to work with you on publishing a biannual update of your funds and views of the market, and we will help you create these and then distribute them to the top 25 zip codes in the United States.
Oh, that's interesting. Most funds operate like some sort of like newsletter advice thing on a subscription basis.
Man, so many don't do what they should be doing. Like, I just think of Fisher, right? They're all over YouTube, and it's like, hey, if you have over $500,000, call us and we'll help you. No one else. Like, there's no one else doing that. It's crazy. So I think those industries where you have a focus on high net worth people with very valuable contracts, I think that's key.
I think another interesting thing about the podcast, I will answer your question. I'm not just stalling. But I'm listening to the podcast and they kind of start talking about that. And like in my head, I'm immediately thinking about like, what else could you do? What else could fit into this? And then halfway through the podcast, they're like, what else could you do with this? And I was like, they're right on the same mindset. But I was similar to the things that they thought about as well. So like home services, obviously, but like less of a flyer type newsprint, just like listings, but have a lookbook on, and maybe some of the other things like interior design, kitchen cabinets, but then obviously like day-to-day stuff like, furnaces, air conditioning, gutter cleaning, window washing. Like
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I think because whenever you have someone good, it's like a really good service provider in that blue collar space, they don't have time to even come out and quote you. Like they're not looking for, the next 1,000 leads. It's the people who aren't good or like are just starting up that need that. So I think my view is that that's not the place to go. I think you need someone who's looking for extra sales. And I don't think like the top end cabinet makers like that do ultra wealthy, the top end service providers, I think that they don't have, at least my view is that they don't have an issue drumming up this business. It's more the middle and lower end services that do. My view is more of like create like almost like a Rob report or like a mixture. So have your realtors as like maybe the base of it, but then what about like, who do you buy a yacht from in there? Who do you buy, collector watches from? What about like collector cars? What about like, those people buy secondary garages that are like bachelor pads. Yeah. So like those developments, right? And then in the back have like a featured bank or featured wealth management who they can put in like a little market update and like a pitch. And then you kind of have like this whole lifestyle feeling of like, no, that's just not houses. Like if you got a house and you're not interested, hey, what about a new boat? What about a golf course membership? What about an elite gym that you have to put on a wait list and pay $50,000 a year for, right? Like those little pieces where it's like, that's to me would be like the next evolution of this.
It's like a printed version of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yes,
exactly. Like take a peek into this is what your life could be like.
Yes.
If you had the imagination and the money to spend.
Yeah. I think that would be an interesting take. I also think going the entire opposite direction of like those little neighborhood ones and coming up with a different approach on that. I think that would be interesting. But yeah. Oh, and I would also, we were talking about this before the podcast, but there's these weird businesses now that there's these people sending out like just simple envelopes with little stories in them every month or whatever. And people are paying to subscribe to these where it's like, here's a story, here's what's going on, whatever. I think there's an opportunity there too of like randomly mailing out stories or random stuff to like try to get a subscriber base to this. Cause yeah, it's fascinating what's going on in just snail mail because it's so different when we're overwhelmed by digital screens now.
I think there's definitely a trend here to like real world experiences, businesses, marketing, instead of like everything being online. I think people are craving those experiences, and there's going to be a lot of really interesting businesses, whether they're massive businesses or just like individual lifestyle businesses that can like pop up and take advantage of this trend.
Yeah, totally agree.
So we're starting a magazine? Is that what you're saying?
Oh man, like didn't you like after you read that, you're like, really? Like, is this what we're doing?
There was a little bit of me like, and starting in the magazine business, I was like, oh, this is so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, you've done this.
I could do this.
Yeah, you've done this.
Let's do this.
No, man, I was like, the thing that hit me was like, yeah, let's start this. And then the second thing that hit me is like, why did this guy talk about this on a very popular business podcast? Because you've just probably launched like 10, 12, 20 competitors in the next 6 months.
Yeah, not a lot of moat there.
Nope. Appreciate any feedback you guys have on the episodes. If you want to hear more about kind of corporate stories and executive takeaways, or if you like these kind of like quick little episodes with interesting business ideas and kind of like, holy bananas, that actually worked, let us know.
This one was short and sweet, but if you liked it, you can visit our archives and the rest of our shows on hatandtat.com and give us 5 stars on whichever platform you're listening on today.
Thanks, friends.
Talk to you later.